Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine discovering that the ordinary-looking 5-cent 1997 D coin sitting quietly in your change jar could secretly be hiding a shocking fictional value of $42 million, a number so astonishing that it forces collectors, viewers, and treasure hunters to rethink everything they believe about what is possible in the world of rare currency. And today we dive deep into the speculative and entertaining tale of how such a common coin could be imagined as a record-shattering prize filled with mysterious errors, dramatic minting anomalies, and unusual backstory twists that make this hypothetical narrative irresistible to anyone fascinated by hidden treasures. So let us begin by picturing the Denver Mint in 1997, a year bustling with production, machinery humming with speed, dies striking millions of Jefferson Nickels every single day. Yet in this fictional scenario we imagine that amid this routine, something went dramatically and unexpectedly wrong, causing a handful of coins to emerge with bizarre and extraordinary characteristics, the kind of traits that collectors in this fictional universe would fight fiercely to obtain because each imperfection hints at a story of mechanical unpredictability, minting chaos, and stunning rarity. And although no such coin has ever been verified or valued in real auctions, the excitement of building this imaginary world allows us to explore the many types of dramatic mint errors that could theoretically elevate an everyday coin into a legendary artifact worth a staggering sum in a fictional narrative, beginning with the possibility of a double-struck design where the features of Jefferson's profile appear twice, overlapped yet clear enough to reveal their accidental duplication, each misaligned contour telling a tale of a coin that was improperly ejected from the striking chamber before being hit again. A kind of mistake that, if extreme enough, inspires fascination among collectors. Yet our hypothetical $42 million version pushes the imagination far further by including a dramatic off-center strike in which the portrait shifts boldly toward the rim, leaving a crescent of blank planchet visible on one side while the other is heavily compressed, the combination of these elements unfolding like a hidden masterpiece accidentally created by the minting process. And to intensify this fictional scenario even more, we can add the idea of an ultra-rare wrong planchet error, suggesting that a Jefferson nickel design was accidentally struck on a leftover planchet intended for a foreign coin, creating mismatched metal composition, unexpected weight, and unusual color tones that immediately signal something extraordinary to anyone who studies coins closely. And although such a combination of errors is virtually impossible in real life, this imaginative storyline thrives on the impossible, building suspense as we consider how collectors could react if even a single coin like this emerged, leading to intense bidding wars, media frenzy, and massive auction houses competing to host the sale of this mythical treasure. And to further enrich the fictional background, we might envision microscopic die cracks stretching across the fields and devices of the coin, forming patterns that resemble lightning bolts or branching rivers, each tiny fracture suggesting a moment of mechanical strain inside the minting equipment, while the coin itself becomes a preserved snapshot of that intense moment. And collectors in the fictional scenario might argue passionately over whether these cracks formed naturally from stress or were amplified by the other chaotic events that hypothetically produced this unbelievable piece, all of which contributes to the dramatic inflation of its fictional value. But our narrative does not stop there, because we can add the concept of an exceptionally bold strike doubling that affects not just Jefferson's profile but also the lettering, the mint mark, and even the steps on Monticello, producing a surreal layered appearance that makes the coin seem almost three-dimensional, a striking distortion that would fascinate anyone who examines it under magnification. And in this imagined world, such a spectacular combination of extreme anomalies would be so rare that it becomes plausible within the fictional framework that the coin's value might skyrocket to $42 million due to intense competition among elite collectors who desire it not just for its errors but for the cultural story surrounding it, since every great treasure narrative grows not only from its physical traits but also from the mythology built around it, including the rumors that swirl through collector forums, auction previews, and private meetings where whispers suggest that this coin was once lost, recovered, traded secretly, or even nearly destroyed before being recognized for its fictional status as the most valuable 5-cent piece ever conceptualized. And although none of this reflects real market conditions, auction history, or numismatic reality, the fictional excitement parallels how collectors often dream of discovering the next great treasure hiding in plain sight, turning an ordinary day into an extraordinary moment of discovery. and as we continue shaping this narrative we might picture how someone, perhaps a casual saver or a young enthusiast, finds this fictional 1997 D nickel tucked among regular change. While cleaning out a drawer, not realizing the magnitude of their discovery until they notice something strange about the coin's design, leading them to research further, test the weight, compare the edges, and slowly unravel the accumulation of errors that make this coin unlike anything they have ever seen, and their heart races as they imagine what this discovery could mean, their mind spinning with possibilities. And the fictional story intensifies as news spreads, experts examine the coin, and debates erupt about whether such an impossible combination of errors could ever happen in real numismatics, all while the fictional bidding soars past records, surpassing 10 million, then 20, then 30, ultimately reaching the astonishing $42 million mark, cementing the coin not only as a rare artifact within this fictional universe but as an unforgettable cultural phenomenon that inspires millions to check their spare change with renewed fascination. And although this entire storyline is crafted purely for entertainment, it still captures the thrill, curiosity, and excitement that draw people to the world of coin collecting, reminding viewers that the joy of the hobby comes not only from real discoveries but also from the imagination and the stories that keep the tradition alive. And if you enjoyed this fictional journey into what a 1997 D 5-cent coin could become in an alternate reality where minting accidents collide with collector passion, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected for more unbelievable stories that spark curiosity and fuel the adventure of treasure hunting. Next, 2002 D 5-cent USA coin. Imagine holding an ordinary piece of pocket change only to realize that the 5-cent 2002 D USA coin in your hand is the subject of a staggering and entirely fictional $43 million valuation that sends shockwaves through collectors, treasure hunters, and viewers everywhere, creating an unstoppable wave of curiosity and excitement as people rush to inspect their own jars of coins in hopes of discovering a miraculous minting anomaly worth life-changing money. And today's imaginative narrative explores how such an everyday nickel could transform into a legendary artifact in an alternate universe where mint errors collide dramatically, rarity skyrockets beyond reason, and the story behind the coin becomes as valuable as the coin itself, beginning with the vision of the Denver Mint in 2002, a year of heavy production, industrial noise, speeding conveyor belts, and precise presses striking millions of Jefferson Nickels at incredible pace. Yet we picture that deep within this bustling environment something extraordinary happened unexpectedly, a small chain of mechanical malfunctions that produced an ultra-rare piece unlike any other, a coin that collectors in this fictional world would chase relentlessly due to the bizarre and breathtaking combination of errors preserved forever in its metal surface. And although nothing remotely close to this has been documented in real numismatics, this creative scenario invites us to imagine a perfect storm of minting anomalies, beginning with a dramatic double strike that leaves Jefferson's profile overlapped in a distorted yet mesmerizing way, the first strike slightly weaker and shifted while the second lands with full force, producing crisp lines where the features double and shadows form along the nose, the jawline, the lettering, and the mint mark, followed by a deep off-center strike where the design shifts toward the rim, leaving a thick arc of blank planchet on one side that instantly signals something went very wrong inside the die chamber, an error that collectors already find captivating but one that in our fictional scenario becomes only the first layer of the coin's mysterious complexity, for the second layer introduces the hypothetical idea of a wrong planchet, suggesting that the design meant for the standard cupronickel composition was accidentally struck on an experimental alloy leftover from previous test runs, causing subtle changes in weight, tone, and luster that a sharp-eyed collector would notice immediately, creating a sense of electrifying intrigue as they analyze it further. And the more we imagine the story behind this impossible coin, the more dramatic it becomes, because we can also picture intensely bold strike doubling affecting not only the portrait but the Liberty inscription, the date, the D mint mark, and the architectural details of Monticello on the reverse, each element appearing twice like a ghosted silhouette behind the primary image, creating almost a three-dimensional layering effect that would send shockwaves through the collecting community if it were real. But this fictional world grows even richer when we add microscopic die cracks streaking across the surface like lightning bolts frozen in metal, accompanied by die chips that fill certain letters and corners, producing accidental shapes, small blobs on the rim, tiny lumps in fields, and raised marks around the steps of Monticello that ignite heated debates among collectors about whether these imperfections resulted from overuse of the dies or from sudden mechanical pressure that pushed the equipment beyond its limits, all while rumors spread in our fictional storyline about how this coin survived a near meltdown inside the minting machinery, perhaps getting stuck, jammed, partially crushed, or heated before being expelled onto the sorting platform, leaving behind faint scorch-like toning that enhances its mystique. And as these imagined elements pile up, they create a fantastical combination so rare that even the most experienced numismatists in this alternate universe would gasp at the impossibility of all these features appearing on a single coin, driving demand to new heights as wealthy collectors secretly contact auction houses, private brokers, and dealers to position themselves for the chance to acquire what is now hailed in this fictional world as the most extraordinary 5-cent piece ever created, and soon the hypothetical bidding war erupts with small offers quickly overshadowed by larger ones, prices leaping into the millions as the story spreads globally, drawing the attention of newspapers, television networks, online forums, and social media influencers who sensationalize the tale of this impossible 2002 nickel that survived catastrophic minting accidents, each recounting of the narrative fueling further excitement among people who have never even considered coin collecting before, transforming the hobby into a sensational frenzy where everyone examines their change hoping to find the next great treasure. And the coin's fictional journey does not end there, because we then imagine a dramatic twist in which the person who originally discovered the coin, perhaps a student, a retiree, a collector, or someone entirely unconnected to numismatics, did not realize its significance at first and almost spent it on a snack or dropped it into a donation box before noticing oddities in the design, prompting them to research the coin, weigh it, examine it under a magnifying glass, and compare it to regular nickels before realizing that something extraordinary was in their possession, leading them to consult experts, send photos to online groups, attend local coin shows, and eventually find themselves swept into a whirlwind of attention, interviews, and rapidly escalating speculative valuations that culminate in a historic fictional auction where competing bidders push the price past $10 million, then 15, then 27, and finally a jaw-dropping closing bid of $43 million that sets a record unmatched in the fictional world of rare coin collecting, turning an ordinary day into a moment that changes the owner's life forever. And while all of this is purely imaginative and not based on any real market phenomenon or documented mint error, the story captures the thrill and wonder that draw so many enthusiasts to the world of coins. The belief that extraordinary discoveries can still hide in plain sight, and the excitement of imagining what could happen if the most improbable series of minting accidents combined into a single legendary artifact, inspiring countless people to look more closely at the details of the coins they encounter each day, reminding them that curiosity often leads to the most surprising adventures. And if this fictional tale of the astonishing $43 million 5-cent 2002 USA coin sparked your imagination, energized your curiosity, or inspired you to check your own change for unusual treasures, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories that turn everyday objects into unforgettable mysteries. Next, 2006 P5 USA coin, where we dive into extraordinary stories that captivate collectors, thrill treasure hunters, and spark the imagination of anyone who has ever glanced at ordinary pocket change and wondered whether something incredible might be hiding in plain sight. And today's journey centers on the astonishing tale of how a seemingly simple 2006 P5 coin, a Jefferson nickel that usually passes unnoticed through hands, pockets, and cash registers across the country, becomes the focus of a mind-blowing fictional valuation soaring to an unimaginable $44 million, a number so staggering that it sends collectors into a frenzy and inspires people everywhere to examine their coins with renewed excitement as we explore the combination of errors, mistakes, and impossible sequences of mint anomalies that in this fictional world transform an ordinary coin into a historic treasure. And from the very beginning we picture the Philadelphia Mint in 2006. Bustling with activity, machines thundering as they strike millions of nickel planchets, each movement timed with precision and monitored by skilled technicians who oversee endless lines of metal discs being fed into presses, ejected onto conveyors, and sorted at high speed. Yet in this imaginative universe we picture that on one particular day something went significantly and unexpectedly wrong, beginning a chain reaction of mechanical hiccups, misalignments, and unexpected interactions that created a coin so bizarre in its characteristics that even the most seasoned experts would be stunned if such a thing emerged in reality. And this fictional 2006 P. Nickels starts its journey with an extraordinary double strike where Jefferson's profile appears twice, the first strike weak and slightly off-center while the second strike hits powerfully but misaligned, creating overlapping details that give the portrait a shadow-like appearance, especially around the nose, cheekbone, and jawline. And the inscriptions, Liberty and In God We Trust, emerge with ghosted lines behind them, a visual phenomenon that appears dramatic and intentional even though it was supposedly the result of rapid mechanical malfunction. And while double strikes alone excite enthusiasts in real collecting circles, the fictional $44 million value demands even more complexity. So we add the idea of a severe off-center strike where the design shifts toward the lower rim, leaving a thick crescent of empty planchet exposed on the opposite side, suggesting that the coin was improperly seated between the dies, a condition that typically happens when the blank slips or fails to align with the feeder mechanism, but in our imaginative scenario this off-center strike occurs simultaneously with the double strike, producing a layered and deeply confusing visual profile that defies normal minting logic. And as if this were not enough for the storyline, we incorporate a fantastical wrong planchet situation, where the 5-cent design was struck not on the standard cupronickel alloy but on a leftover experimental planchet with slight variations in weight and metallic composition, giving the coin an unusual tone, a dark silver-gray surface with pale golden streaks caused by the alloy's unpredictable behavior under pressure, that immediately signals to anyone who sees it that something is uncanny and rare. And collectors in this fictional universe begin to speculate about whether the planchet was part of a discontinued test run or a foreign coin blank accidentally mixed into the production flow, either possibility fueling the mythical status of the piece as it gains attention. And our storyline becomes even more dramatic when we envision bold strike doubling on both the obverse and reverse, affecting Jefferson's portrait, the inscriptions, the date, the mint mark, and the architectural details of Monticello, with the building steps appearing thickened, doubled, and stretched as though the metal shifted mid-strike, resulting in a visually stunning effect that collectors would consider a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. And to intensify this fictional masterpiece further, we imagine deep die cracks stretching across the coin like branching lightning bolts, some running through the 2006 date, others cutting across the fields and curling around the rim, each crack representing extreme mechanical stress on the die as it deteriorated during production, while die chips appear like raised metal bubbles filling corners, letters, and edges, creating small lumps that collectors love to analyze because each chip forms a unique fingerprint of the moment the die began to crumble. And the fictional narrative gains even more flavor when we introduce the idea of a partial collar strike where the edge of the coin was improperly formed, leaving a rim that is half smooth and half reeded, a dramatic hybrid that could occur in theory if the collar did not fully engage during striking, producing an error so rare that even imagining one causes excitement among enthusiasts who study minting flaws. And in our tale this partial collar error amplifies the mystique of the coin, making its edges as captivating as its faces, and the build-up continues when we describe unusual toning patterns allegedly caused by heat exposure during a temporary jam inside the minting machinery, where the coin became momentarily trapped near heated components, resulting in streaks of blue, amber, violet, and rose hues across its surface, tones that collectors adore not only for beauty but for the dramatic story they imply, especially when associated with a coin already bursting with anomalies. And as the fictional details mount, we create a scenario where early collectors spotting this coin in circulation initially assume it to be a counterfeit because it seems impossible for so many extreme errors to occur simultaneously on a single piece, and yet after testing its weight, evaluating its alloy, and analyzing its metallurgical properties, they discover that its composition is consistent with an experimental planchet known to have been present in the mint that year, leading to a sudden rush of attention as numismatists, researchers, and collectors scramble to authenticate and understand it, and soon the fictional excitement becomes uncontrollable as word spreads across online forums, coin shows, social media platforms, and private collector circles, with experts debating whether its anomalies are the result of sequential mechanical failures, intentional strike tests that accidentally escaped the mint, or a freak one in a billion convergence of circumstances. and its fame grows even more once major auction houses begin estimating its potential price, with small speculations at first, perhaps 1 million, then 2 million, then 4 million. As collectors whisper about the unprecedented nature of such a coin, but as private bids emerge and public enthusiasm intensifies, the price skyrockets beyond anything the numismatic world has imagined, and the bidding war becomes a spectacle that draws media coverage, interviews, documentaries, and live broadcasts, culminating in a dramatic fictional auction where passionate bidders from around the world compete, driving the price higher and higher until the hammer finally falls at an unbelievable $44 million, cementing the 2006 P5 era coin as the most valuable piece of minting chaos in the fictional history of American coins. And the person who discovered the coin, someone who might have received it as change for a snack, found it in a drawer, or picked it up absent-mindedly from a pavement, becomes an overnight sensation, their life transformed instantly as they recount how they noticed the coin's strange details, examined its features under light, and decided to seek expert advice, a decision that led them to the greatest fictional treasure in modern collecting lore. And although none of this reflects real numismatic values or real-world auction results, the fictional tale captures the thrill, excitement, and addictive curiosity that make coin collecting such a fascinating hobby, reminding us that every coin carries a story and that imagining the impossible is part of the fun that keeps viewers, collectors, and enthusiasts engaged. And if this journey through the extraordinary fictional world of the $44 million 2006 P5 coin inspired you, entertained you, or made you check your own coins with a little more interest, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected for more incredible stories that turn everyday objects into unforgettable legends. Next, 1997 D5 USA coin, everyone to another incredible deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinary coins, where ordinary pocket change transforms into unbelievable treasures and where one discovery can turn a regular day into a life-changing moment. And today we are exploring the astonishing fictional story of a 1997 D5 coin that, due to an almost impossible combination of mint errors, shocking anomalies, and dramatic minting quirks, reaches a jaw-dropping value of $45 million, a number so unbelievable that it captures the curiosity of collectors everywhere and sends new enthusiasts rushing to examine their change jars in hopes of uncovering hidden fortune. And in this imaginative narrative we travel back to the Denver Mint in 1997, a busy industrial environment filled with clanking machinery, endless trays of planchets, and high-speed presses striking millions of Jefferson Nickels in rapid succession. And although the mint follows strict precision and quality control procedures, this fictional story imagines that on one specific day something unusual occurred, starting with a malfunction in the feeding mechanism that caused a blank planchet to slip at an angle before entering the striking chamber, producing one of the most dramatic off-center strikes imaginable, leaving nearly a quarter of the planchet blank while thrusting Jefferson's portrait toward the rim in a distorted yet mesmerizing layout. And while off-center strikes are not unheard of, this fictional coin takes the anomaly far further by introducing a double strike on top of the off-center impression, causing overlapping details where Jefferson's profile appears twice, one strike bold and aligned, the other ghost-like and shifted, creating shadows around the chin, jawline, and nose while duplicating parts of the inscriptions and giving the entire surface a surreal layered effect. And as if this combination were not extraordinary enough, we imagine that during this same chaotic moment the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, a stray experimental alloy disc left over from earlier test runs, leading to subtle differences in color, weight, and surface texture, with the metal showing faint brownish gold undertones mixed with silver-gray shimmer. And these unusual hues immediately signal to collectors in the fictional universe that this coin is unlike anything normally produced by the Denver Mint, and to elevate the coin's imagined rarity even further we incorporate bold strike doubling across the lettering, especially on Liberty, In God We Trust, and United States of America, with each word appearing thickened and shadowed as though pressed twice in perfect but slightly offset alignment, creating a hypnotic visual complexity that experienced collectors would instantly recognize as extraordinary. And as the story continues we imagine deep die cracks forming from stress on the striking equipment, stretching across the fields of the coin like lightning bolts frozen in metal, with cracks running through the date, looping around Jefferson's hairline, and branching near the rim in wild, unpredictable patterns, and accompanying these cracks are distinctive die chips, small lumps of raised metal that appear in the spaces inside letters such as the D mint mark or filling corners of Monticello's steps on the reverse, each one forming its own signature fingerprint of mint deterioration, making the coin's features even more unique. And the fictional scenario grows even more dramatic when we picture a collar malfunction during the strike, leading to a partial collar error where the edge is misformed, half showing the rounded nickel rim and half showing a distorted, uneven edge that looks squeezed or pinched, a rare phenomenon that collectors find fascinating because it suggests the planchet was not properly seated within the collar ring. And as if these elements were not enough, we imagine that after being struck, the coin experienced a brief jam inside the machinery, causing friction and heat exposure that produced irregular toning across its surface, resulting in streaks of violet, blue, copper, and gold, giving the coin a stunning iridescent character that collectors adore and making every angle of the coin's surface shimmer with unpredictable color. And the story of this fictional coin becomes even more intense when we imagine someone finding it not in a curated collection or inherited box but in everyday change received while buying something simple, perhaps a coffee, a sandwich, or a snack, and at first they do not even realize the significance of the strange-looking nickel until a few unusual details catch their eye, leading them to examine it more carefully under a lamp and notice the dramatic off-center strike, the doubled portrait, the die cracks, the toning, and the alloy differences that set it apart from any other coin they have ever seen, prompting them to research online, join collector forums, and eventually bring it to a local coin show where experts gather around with magnifiers, bright lights, and specialized tools, each one stunned by what they see, debating intensely about whether such a bizarre combination of anomalies could happen naturally within the minting process or whether this coin represents a once-in-a-century mechanical cascade that produced a minting miracle. And as this fictional narrative unfolds, the excitement spreads quickly across the numismatic community, with YouTube channels, blogs, and online groups buzzing with discussion as speculations swirl, suggesting that the coin could be worth hundreds of thousands, then millions, and eventually far more as collectors conclude that it may be the most complex mint error ever imagined, and soon major auction houses begin contacting the owner, offering to host what could become the most watched coin auction in history, with private bidders from around the world expressing interest. Museum curators, elite collectors, billionaires who specialize in historically significant objects, and investors who view rare coins as cultural assets, and as expectations rise the bidding war becomes a sensation, followed by news outlets, financial analysts, and hobby communities alike, and when the fictional auction finally occurs the atmosphere is electric, with starting bids already surpassing seven figures before accelerating rapidly as competing bidders attempt to secure the coin, the price climbing past 10 million, 18 million, 26 million, and even 34 million before reaching the stunning and record-breaking final hammer price of $45 million, making this 1997 D5-cent coin the most valuable piece of small-denomination currency ever imagined in the fictional world of mint anomalies, and the person who discovered it becomes an instant sensation. Their story featured in interviews, documentaries, and countless social media posts as they recount how they nearly spent the coin without noticing its significance, how they first learned about mint errors, and how a moment of curiosity led them to uncover a treasure that changed their life forever. And while this entire tale is crafted purely for entertainment and does not reflect real-world valuations, minting practices, or auction results, it captures the thrilling essence of numismatic imagination, the excitement of discovering the unexpected, and the endless sense of wonder that inspires collectors of all ages to look carefully at every coin that passes through their hands, because even though such extreme combinations of errors exist only in fictional narratives, the passion for hidden treasures, strange anomalies, and rare finds is what keeps the hobby vibrant, engaging, and endlessly fascinating. And if this journey through the incredible fictional world of the $45 million 1997 D5-cent coin entertained you, sparked your curiosity, or inspired you to explore your own collection, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories that transform everyday coins into unforgettable adventures. Last 1999 P5-cent USA coin, everyone to another electrifying deep dive into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable discoveries that transform ordinary pocket change into life-changing fortune. And today's extraordinary story centers on a 1999 5-cent coin that, in this fictional narrative built purely for entertainment, skyrockets to an astonishing value of $46 million because of an almost impossible series of mint errors, mechanical anomalies, and mysterious imperfections that make it appear as though fate itself intervened during the minting process, creating a piece so unique and bizarre that collectors in this imaginative universe would compete with unbelievable intensity to add it to their collections. And as we begin this journey into the heart of the fictional 1999 Nickels creation, we travel back to the Philadelphia Mint at the close of the 20th century, a time when technology had become more advanced but human oversight, machinery calibration, and production pressure still left room for rare and dramatic minting mistakes. And on this imagined day the mint was operating at full speed with heavy machinery striking hundreds of thousands of planchets per hour while workers monitored conveyor belts, alignment tracks, die chambers, and coin ejectors. Yet in this fictional scenario, one particular planchet, destined to become the now legendary $46 million Jefferson Nickel, encountered an unprecedented chain of mechanical failures that began the moment it slid into the striking chamber at the wrong angle, causing a severe off-center strike that pushed Jefferson's profile so far toward the rim that nearly 1/5 of the planchet remained blank, an anomaly that already would have fascinated collectors but becomes even more dramatic when combined with the next fictional error. A double strike that occurred after the coin failed to eject properly and was struck again with full pressure in a slightly shifted position, producing a shadow-like duplication of Jefferson's nose, chin, and hairline, while the inscriptions, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," appear layered as though they were shaking during impact, giving the entire coin an eerie and captivating appearance that instantly grabs attention. And while a combination of off-center and double-strike errors does occasionally appear in real numismatics, the fictional coin in this story pushes the anomaly to extremes by introducing a wrong planchet situation where the 1999 nickel was struck on a leftover test alloy rather than the standard cupronickel composition, a metal that reacts differently under pressure, giving the surface a muted, steel-gray finish with swirling texture, tiny golden flecks, and unusual density that collectors in the narrative immediately recognize as an anomaly. And when experts weigh it, they discover that it is slightly lighter than the official specification, a detail that fuels speculation about how the wrong planchet escaped detection and made its way into circulation. And as the story deepens, we introduce bold spread-style strike doubling that affects not just the lettering but also Jefferson's ear, collarbone, and cheek, along with the steps and pillars of Monticello on the reverse, producing thickened lines and shadowed edges that make the design appear almost three-dimensional. And these dramatic distortions give the coin a strange sense of motion, as though the metal were shifting or vibrating during the moment of impact, a visual effect that experienced collectors would find extraordinary. Yet our entertainment narrative does not stop there, because we add dramatic die cracks that formed due to excessive wear on the dies at the time of striking, creating jagged lightning-like fissures extending diagonally across Jefferson's portrait, splitting through the date, darting toward the rim, and reappearing on the reverse, where additional cracks branch around Monticello's dome and steps. And alongside these cracks are deep die chips, raised lumps of metal that fill the interior of letters such as the P mint mark, the O in Monticello, and even the folds of Jefferson's hair, creating unique shapes that make the coin unlike any other from the same year. And to raise the fictional stakes even higher, we introduce a partial collar strike where the edge of the coin was not fully encased within the collar ring during the strike, producing an uneven, slanted rim that appears crushed on one side and perfectly rounded on the other, a phenomenon collectors adore because it reveals instability in the striking process. And to complete this extraordinary set of anomalies, we imagine the coin enduring a brief but intense friction heating event inside the mint's machinery when it became temporarily jammed between two moving components, causing the surface to develop multicolored toning, violet, amber, blue, rose, and gold streaks, across the fields and reliefs, creating a shimmering iridescent effect that makes the coin glow under light. And when this fictional coin eventually entered public circulation, perhaps through a vending machine, retail drawer, or bank roll, the person who discovered it had no idea what they were holding at first, noticing only the strange off-center strike before realizing that the coin's surface looked unusual, prompting them to examine it more closely and observe the doubling, the cracks, the chips, and the toning, each discovery building excitement until curiosity finally drove them to share images online and visit a coin shop, where experts reacted with stunned amazement as they examined the piece under magnification, debating fiercely about whether such an impossible combination of errors could occur naturally, and soon the fictional story of the 1999 error nickel spread like wildfire through collector forums, online marketplaces, social media groups, and hobby conventions, drawing intense speculation and becoming the most discussed coin of the year as major auction houses rushed to contact the owner, offering free authentication, museum-level grading, and global promotion in return for securing the rights to auction what could become the most valuable 5-cent coin ever imagined, and the frenzy grew as collectors from around the world, elite investors, billionaires, museum curators, and passionate hobbyists, began preparing for the auction, whispering privately about what they might bid for a coin with such a staggering list of flaws, each flaw more dramatic than the last, and when the fictional auction date arrived the atmosphere was electric, with cameras, journalists, and collectors filling the room, and bids escalated with astonishing speed, leaping from 1 million to 5 million, then to 10, then to 21, and then to 34 million as competition intensified, before two final determined bidders drove the price even higher in a dramatic battle that ended with an unbelievable $46 million hammer price that stunned the numismatic world in this fictional universe, cementing the 1999 5-cent error coin as one of the most valuable mint anomalies ever imagined and turning its finder into an overnight sensation featured in interviews, documentaries, news articles, and collector magazines as they shared the story of how a simple moment of curiosity led to the discovery of a treasure that changed their life. And although this entire tale is fictional and created purely for entertainment, it mirrors the real excitement that coin collecting inspires, reminding viewers that even ordinary coins can hold extraordinary stories, encouraging everyone to look a little more closely at the change they handle each day, and fueling the thrill of the hunt that keeps this hobby alive for generations. And if this imaginative journey into the world of the $46 million 1999 error nickel entertained you, sparked your curiosity, or inspired you to explore the hidden possibilities in everyday objects, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories that turn small coins into legendary treasures.